Hello, everybody. I'm Derek.
Welcome back. I'm Aimee.
I am her big brother.
I'm the little sister.
There you go. See, you picked it up eventually. And we did actually. I reformatted our little setup. Before there was a white line between us, but now I put the blue light on the black curtain right here, so it almost looks like we're not as separated from that white line from before. Anyway, good to be back. Aimee, I'm trying out the sunglasses today for today's pod. Do you think I can pull it off, or do you feel like I'm more distant and hidden, like a hidden mysterious figure now that you can no longer see my eyeballs?
I actually was just focusing in on that right before, like, as the music was on. I was like, I wonder why he has sunglasses on today. Then it reminded me that I found my glasses and I was going to bring them and I forgot. Do I think you're pulling it off? I guess we'll have to see.
Okay. Well, there's an opportunity for you to have an easy way to be kind to me, but you chose to not be kind and chose nothing instead.
I wanted to be honest and give the sunglasses a real chance.
Oh, yeah. Honesty is very important to you. Why don't you have an honest, kind thought? I suppose we don't have any apologies today, but I think you did forgive me last week. I don't know if I forgave you on air, so you are also forgiven. I know it took 7 days, but of course, in my faith journey, if I don't forgive, then I lose my spot in heaven. So it's an obligation.
Oh.
Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it. Anyway, for anybody tuning in, let us know what you think about the idea of having some call-in segments, and we'll put the phone number on the screen.
Make a phone call
so you can see
to the podcast segment.
Yeah, and you could tell us your honest thoughts. Hopefully, you don't say anything too wild, but you could call in with your response to whatever question we're talking about at the time. But anyway, back on Tuesday, and we're back at our normal time.
Yes.
At 12. I know last week we were at 2. Week before that we didn't do it. Week before that we didn't do it, but we're back today. All right.
So we are back, and Derek, we're getting closer and closer to the end of my pregnancy, the end of your wife's pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Are you super excited? Is it like any day now?
Well,
or is it like...
We did have an appointment earlier today, and we did learn. Well, we knew this one before that he is breached, meaning he's foot first right now inside. What for people who don't know, you do have a few options. And actually, remember how when you were pregnant, we discussed this idea of should you do front flips in the pool or not? Actually, it was recommended to do front flips or back flips in the pool that would actually help him
to rotate
and get in position. So more likely than not, this weekend we will be in the swimming pool doing front flips.
Oh.
So,
over at the house? At Mom's house?
I think so.
Okay.
But so
I'll plan.
Interesting that we were concerned with you not doing front flips when it's actually recommended in. I don't know if it's ever not recommended, I guess.
I guess that's probably why Kalel was upside down real easily. Because I know that he was not breached. He was head down.
Because you did front flips?
Well, maybe because I was doing front flips. Yeah, because, he was born in the summer.
But I thought you didn't do front flips.
I did end up doing them. And Jeremy was not happy. Jeremy was definitely scared.
Okay, so thus far, not from the aesthetic perspective, but do you feel like more distant with the sunglasses? Is it less personal, less connected, or just as connected?
I feel like... I feel just as connected. Maybe like a little bit like looking at an emoji.
Okay.
But I think it's good.
Okay. Shall we jump into our questions?
Yeah, let's jump right in.
Last week, I believe you were able to touch on question number 9 about what family means to you and how should it be prioritized in our lives. And it's a topic that we've discussed a little bit before, you and I. And you discussed last week what family means to you. I'm probably similar. I think you said something along the lines of people you choose to have special moments, quality time. There's a quantity element to that. If you're in the chat, of course, you can let us know what family means to you and how do you prioritize it in your life. And probably, if you want to be more specific, it's the boundaries, because like, especially in San Antonio, especially in our culture, like family is important. Everybody like, and for somebody to go like family is important, it's like, yeah, to me it's the same thing. It's kind of similar of somebody saying I'm not perfect. You know what I always what I think about when somebody says they're not perfect. I might have said a part of this to you.
Yeah.
It's whenever somebody says they're not perfect, it's like every human being who's ever met you knows, and we knew within 5 minutes. So why are you telling us what we already know? But anyway, for you out there, establishing boundaries with your family, I think that's probably the more relevant thing. You've talked about in the past, even with your son, you want to be your son in your sons plural. You want to be mindful of if they're ever uncomfortable by a family member, then you pretty much will make that decision to not be around and not put them in a situation where they're around any family member that makes them uncomfortable, and pretty much place their peace, maybe their comfort at a higher level than just, oh yeah, hey, this family, we got to be around them.
Yeah.
But I think you had I thought it was a really helpful perspective in being willing to place your son's peace over whatever, this idea of family above everything.
Yeah. Precisely.
So for me, I think similar thoughts. How do I prioritize family in my life? It's kind of interesting because I have a when it comes to priorities, I think about time, and along the way, my time has shifted. So there was a time period where I was doing church stuff like whatever 3 or 4 times a week. It was a Sunday morning, it was a Wednesday night, it was a Tuesday night, it was a Friday, like stuff like in college especially. I think nowadays, it's not as frequent, which I think is both good, and then sometimes that could be not as helpful. But I think it's interesting to think about how, like, what kind of cadence or rhythm you have with family. Is it a situation where it's only holidays, or is it only birthdays, holidays, family events? And what are those in between times? And if my son was asking what that family time looks like for me and how I prioritize it, it's at least in this window of time, it's been something like we do this pod. This is clearly a family with my sister. Then we're doing softball, which of course, you know, you're kind of out of the picture with your son on the way. And then we had, so softball was Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then I was doing T-ball. So then now T-ball is starting up again, but I probably have less involvement just because our son's going to be here in the next few weeks. And then softball, I'm also not going to be here for the next season. I don't know if I've said that publicly. First time, maybe. And then what else? Other priorities. I just try to call mom here and there, just check in on her. So
yeah,
that's a little bit of how I prioritize family. I think in this season, it's a lot more rhythmic. It's a lot more predictable. Of, hey, I'm gonna see family on Tuesday. I'm gonna see you on Tuesday night. I'm gonna see them on Thursday night. And then, but with Milo's practice, it was like Wednesday night. And then at least last year in the fall, it was Sunday games. So it was like kind of built in, like the way church used to be built in with the really pretty radical frequency. I think that's a little bit how it's been for family this past year or two.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other thoughts on family and prioritizing them and what you'd want your son to know about how you prioritize family?
Yeah, one thing I guess I do want to add, which I was talking about and thinking about yesterday, is prioritizing family in your life. The best way to prioritize your family in your life is also, like we've said in the past, making sure you're setting clear boundaries so that, like, not having problems with confronting your family members so that you can continue to develop a better relationship. I think we've had conversations in the past about how, you know, you've had friends who were in marriage who never argued.
Yeah.
And the no arguing or no bickering was almost like no construction was going on within themselves. And I think it's the same thing with your family. I think you prioritize your family by confronting them when you have an issue with something. You know, you confront them and you let them know, hey, I have a problem with the way that you did this. And that helps your relationship grow as a family, and it helps you continue to maintain a healthy relationship.
Okay, so then what is your perspective on naturally with our son on the way? There's a lot of conversation about vaccines, family members getting vaccines, stuff like that is probably more relevant than ever. People probably have more distrust in vaccines than before with everything that happened with COVID. Did you have any perspective or any high priorities as far as immediate family members and their vaccinations?
Vaccination around my son?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I do know that there's like certain vaccines you can get at the hospital when the baby's born so that you have a less likely chance of spreading disease to them. And I know that Jeremy and I got it, but we weren't super strict about everybody else because I was with the baby the whole time. I was with Khalil the whole time. So the majority, I wasn't away from him for any period of time for the first few months of his life. So there wasn't as much, him being in contact with too many people. So I wasn't too concerned about it. But I did, make sure to ask. I'd let everybody know, if y'all have a concern, the doctors did recommend, I have a paper and I can send you all a picture of the vaccine that y'all can get that'll make it safer for my son if y'all are going to be around. So.
What about kissing on the cheek or kissing at all?
I don't really want anybody. I didn't really let anybody kiss Khalil. I mean, it didn't make too big of a deal if it was like the little foot. Like if somebody kissed the little foot, I made sure to just clean his feet afterwards. But I didn't, like his hands, he touches his face with his hands. He, getting any kind of like bodily fluids on his face was also of concern to me. So. But he hasn't gotten sick too many times. I mean, he was sick last week, but not too sick.
But so at what point did you get to a point where you're like, okay, like whatever, hey, grandma kisses his foot or grandma kisses him or mom kisses him. At what point would you, whether you remember the exact point or not, around what point in his life do you think you got more comfortable with, okay, yeah, my mom kisses him on the face or whatever?
Once he was able to crawl around, like I think it was like 4 months-ish is when he started kind of moving. And, and the more he started to crawl, the more I knew that he was going to be touching things and, messing with things that I couldn't necessarily stop him all the time. Now that he had his own free range to move. So around 4 to 6 months, I started to get, a little bit more lenient. Like I was still, super concerned about like making sure things were clean and whatever. But once we got past that, probably like 9 months when he was really crawling a lot and really moving a lot, it was like, it wasn't that big of a deal. It was like, okay, you're fine. I'll toss you a Cheeto down there. You can pick it up and eat it.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, it's crazy because the conversation I was having yesterday with his wifey on the subject of vaccinations and carefulness, because there's the trope that first-time parents with the first kid want to do everything right, be extra cautious, extra careful, all of that, and then whatever the fourth kid or fifth kid is like, whatever, like
yeah,
whatever happens with them, like less cautious, less careful, more like almost a steady faith that, hey, the kid's going to be okay.
Yeah.
For most things. So inside that trope, though, I think what happens when we have that's they say hindsight is 20/20, when we're looking at things in retrospect, thinking, if only I knew, like if everything good happens, you're like, okay, well, everything good happened. But if anything bad ever happens, you always go, I wish I would have been more careful. I wish I would have been more cautious. I wish I would have been less trusting. And so when it comes to a baby, I think we could certainly find ourselves on that, like which side
do you want to be on?
Yeah, like extra cautious, extra careful, or not as cautious, not as careful. Do you want to take every precaution or take medium? Again, if you talk about spectrum, but we certainly find ourselves in the trope of first-time parents wanting to be cautious with everything. So I'm just kind of curious how other people navigate all that.
Yeah, I do know that. I do feel like I'm a little bit more laid back now that Khalil's a year old, and it's not as intense And like even Jeremy, like, because I spend the majority of the time with Khalil, like Khalil will do something and like hurt himself, and I just like I'm really calm. Like I try to be really calm about it, and I don't make a big deal. And I'm like, okay, like let's just pick him up and we'll hang out. And he's like, how come you don't freak out? And I'm like, well, because I can try to do everything, and stuff is still gonna go wrong. And I was like, and I can do my best to try to do everything.
Yeah.
And when something goes wrong, like I still don't have to freak out about it. Like I can still take a deep breath and be like, it's okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna figure it out. Yeah. So I think even being super cautious, there's things that are gonna go wrong. You could be the most careful in the world, and something could still come out of left field. And I think that that's perfectly okay. Like, just your reaction
Yeah.
on how you end up getting that worked out.
Got it. All right. Next question. We're on question number 10. If my kids ask pod, the question is.
I was like, that's not the question.
If you could give me one piece of advice for my entire life, what would it be?
Ooh. I think I'd say I'm not sure. Maybe love wholeheartedly, but cautiously.
Mm. What do you think that looks like? He's like, Mom, that's good advice. What does that mean?
It means that when you love somebody, you don't act like you're scared all the time. Like, and I know like how hard it can be, especially like with people who, get cheated on, or, their significant other leaves them, or their parents, are gone, and it's hard to trust your heart to be left somewhere where it could get broken again. But I think, like how they say, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. I think that it's better to do things wholeheartedly and then get hurt than it is to never ever take that chance or never ever love people that way. And I think like even like your family members, like love your family members wholeheartedly, and there's sometimes they're going to do things that are going to disappoint you, that are going to break your heart, and eventually you just learn to forgive them again, But like, people in your life, you're going to love them. And if at some point in time you don't love them anymore, that's okay. You never want to look back and feel like, oh, I lost something good because I didn't give it my all. So.
Okay.
And it's like, you're not forced to love somebody forever. And it even like in marriage, like, have you seen the people who say that loving somebody, it's not like a feeling, it's a choice?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a choice because every single day, like, especially in marriage, you have to get up and make the decision to love your significant other. It's not like you feel like you're just the love's naturally going to come every day. No, some days you're going to have to wake up and remind yourself to love this person, to love somebody. And I think that that's the biggest indicator as to what love really is actively deciding to show acts of love and to love this person every day. Yep.
Indeed. I think, yeah, it is an interesting thing. Like the idea of stopping loving someone, I think you brought up is an interesting one. Just to give a brief comment on what you said. I do think about, I guess, to maybe continue some of our conversation from last week, which was we were talking about the idea of cutting people off and when that time is right. Because in the context of a disfellowship in somebody or going through that,
Yeah.
it's an element where in one angle, you are continuing to love them without having a connection. So you don't stop loving them, you stop a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the group, they might have access to some people inside the community. But the disfellowship process it seems to be that they are to feel the social impact of their individual selfishness. The idea is they feel that. It's not like, oh yeah, all good, keep going, keep coming. No, actually, what you did is so serious, it affects you and affects all of us.
Yeah.
And we're actually hurting too, that we have to be separate from you for a time period. So I think it's interesting. Like I guess I probably differ, to be clear. I differ and say that I can love you without being close
Mm-hmm.
to you or being in proximity. Because sometimes the best thing to do for somebody is to create that
Distance,
separation, that distance.
But even, deciding to maintain that distance, if that's an act of love, that is a decision
Mm-hmm.
that you do when you're deciding to love them.
Yeah, indeed. And that famous passage in the Bible talks about, love is patient, love is kind. Like patience is a decision, kindness is a decision. It might be easier for some people who are naturally inclined to being patient, naturally inclined to being kind, but still, decision.
Yep.
All right, my perspective on this, any advice? I was kind of asking myself, like, which Christian trope or advice would I say? Like, there's the common one of love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Love neighbor as yourself. That's always like a good one. So I don't want to say it, that one. I'll just say that I'm not saying it. And the one maybe I'll say is learn to view God through God's eyes. And I think that's another way of saying, like, understand his nature by how he describes himself and reveals himself, specifically in the scriptures of the Bible. And in the same line of advice, it's learn to see yourself through how God sees you. And it's I think this meta lesson I've been on this journey with, which is I want to believe every good thing God has to say about me, and I want to believe every bad thing God has to say about me. And the idea inside of that is, if you believed every good thing God has to say about, just like you're the light of the world, you're the salt of the earth, you're irreplaceable, you're indispensable, you are loved, you are redeemed, you have value, he would sacrifice for you, he would do everything for you. All those things are good, proper, wholesome pieces of a positive identity, which is good, and some people leave it at that. But simultaneously, if you continue in the word, you ultimately come to some maybe what people would call uncomfortable truths of, hold on, it also says there's nobody that is good. Nobody does good. This idea that nobody is good enough. So for me, when I cling onto this idea where I believe every good thing he has to say about me and every bad thing, so bad thing means that I am unable in and of myself to be good, to speak good, to think good, to do good. But with God's help, I can do those things. So if all of the good things God has to say about me builds my confidence up, but what I believe is the bad things he says about me is helping my humility to kind of taper off the confidence. So to me, an extreme form of confidence is arrogance. That's overly looking at yourself, overly thinking about yourself, overly speaking about yourself, all of these things. But that confidence can be tapered off with the sober realities of how fragile, how evil I could be, how the wrong things that I can do. So what I've seen sometimes is people have, and to include myself, I've had an identity crisis when I thought only measured the good things about me, but then when something bad came out of my life, I joked about it over the last 2 episodes, which is the idea is like, oh, no tickets all these years, then hit one pedestrian, then it's like, okay, that's an identity crisis. I have all of this data that I'm a good driver, no tickets is a good driver, but one sample of doing the worst thing you could do in a car, which is hitting a pedestrian, and it's like, well, how do you reconcile all of this 20 years of data with this one horrible moment? Well, again, through God's eyes, like one, the idea of me, the 20 years of no tickets, I probably sped again, 500 or 2,000 times. Who knows how many times? So it doesn't mean that I didn't speed. It just means I didn't get caught. All of that to say is, if you believe all the good things, if you believe all the bad things God says about you, I think you'll be insecure and you'll always feel full of doubt. Is okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not good. Oh, you can't even do one good thing. Oh, you're insufficient in and of yourself. But you taper off the insecurity into humility with the confidence. So it's these two perfect things. So if my son was looking for one piece of advice for all of life, it's you're fighting for this view of God. It's like a divine, true view of God and a true view of you. And if you could cling on to these as belief systems, I believe so many good things can flow from what you think about God and what you think about you. Any thoughts or questions on that?
I think it's hard to think about, like to conceptualize, the thought of like living by, let's say, these rules, like how we say, like it's these rules or these guides that you're being given, saying that you have to follow, you have to listen to both of these things. I think it can definitely be a tough concept to swallow, not for, for anybody. But I think you explained it well.
I see it in even like with professional athletes, because sometimes you'll have a professional athlete who has who has a ridiculous amount of talent, maybe even a ridiculous amount of size, maybe like Kobe Bryant. So you see the way he carries himself as a basketball player, the shots he's willing to take. It's like, oh, like that's a tough shot, but he took it and he made it. So you go, there's a level of confidence, but then you look at the work ethic behind the scenes, and I could understand if somebody was overly confident, they wouldn't work as hard. Well, I don't need to work as hard.
Yeah.
Because I'm overly confident. But that's where I think if you believe the bad things, if you believe an appropriate amount of bad things about yourself, they can actually help you
to want to continue to be better,
to work hard, to improve, to have the humility to want to learn to navigate forward in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I see that. But also to not completely throw down on yourself, and have the confidence to even take the shot, to take the chance to do something.
B Rye in the chat throwing up the
Clapping.
the claps. Good to see you, B Rye. All right. And if you have the one piece of advice you'd want your child to know from you, go ahead and drop that in the chat. And next one we're on is number 11. You want to read that one off?
Yeah. What were your biggest fears and how did you overcome them?
You first, me first.
You first.
Okay, biggest fears. Be right with the support. Glad to be able to tune in. Yes, sir. Glad to have you, brother. Biggest fears. And then if you're tuning in, let us know what fears you've had and how you've overcome them as well. B Right, we were talking about it earlier, but we were talking about doing a little bit of a call-in segment. So get prepared for next week for that call-in piece to the episode. All right, fears. Okay, so fear. I like to define words. Fear. If I'm gonna use a working definition. It's gonna be something like an emotion of uncomfortability or of angst that comes from this idea of something bad happening on the other side. Mm-hmm. So fear is, if I'm uncomfortable because something bad could happen. If I have a fear of going outside because the dog might bite me, then, okay, so you have something bad might happen and it's uncomfortable about going to run outside. So what fears did I have and how did I overcome them? Let's see. I think I can list so many. Yeah. I'll list trying. Okay, I'm going to be real general on this one, but it speaks to me is trying in life to me is very scary because, and I'll go ahead and add a story to this because we always want to throw stories in when we're on the pod. So I remember I went through a breakup in high school. I won't say what grade because somebody might be able to figure out. Nobody even cares that much. I'm just hyping this. Like nobody has a chart of my dating life and going, oh, he was dating this person. But in my head, it's what I would connect it to is I remember I was going through a breakup with this one girl in high school, and the stupid but real line I had used toward the end was like, I'm bad at being a boyfriend, but I'm not even trying. You're bad, but you are trying. And I was like, pathetic. Like so hurtful and like psychologically like twisted. Like, where did my brain even know how to think that, right? So when I think about that, I think about like
Evil.
no, right?
Now you know why the Lord has to do work in this man's life.
Which is such a funny line, right? Back to the maybe I'll tie this back to the perfect conversation. Like why does it feel so offensive if you told me like everybody in your life knows you're imperfect? Why does that seem offensive when I know it's true? You know what I'm saying? Like what is it? We all know that one another we're imperfect. Anyway, why any Christian should be able to go like 100%. I do need grace and mercy because of my evil. Because it's Jesus came for the sick, not for the healthy, and the healthy are defined as those who see themselves as right enough or good enough, and the sick were the people who were known as the sinners or the outcasts, the people who were less than. Jesus said, I came for the sick, not the healthy. It's not the healthy who need a doctor, it's the sick. All of that to say, that was the evil thing that I said in a breakup. But to connect it to trying and coming up short is so challenging. So there's so many, I think, so much like mental work to try to do something, to try to jump on a pod, to write a book, to give a speech, because the people who try are the ones who are potentially seen failing. In other words, I believe not trying, it's a failure, but it's a guaranteed failure of nothing because you don't even try. So to the point is I was a greater loser than she was. Back to that relationship, right? I was a greater loser than she was because if it was true at all, and I don't even know if that's true, if it was true that I didn't try, but if there was truth that I didn't try, I was failing more than she was, even if she was trying and she wasn't doing very good. But the fact of the matter, I think, is if we're tying this and contextualizing it with fear, is if my son goes through school and he's thinking about trying for the sports team, there's a possibility he won't make it, right? He tries to go to apply for college, there's a possibility he doesn't get in. He tries to ask a girl to the prom, right? There's a possibility she says no. So all of these things to try in life, to me, it's the fear of failure is ultimately what it is.
Yeah.
So it says inside the question, how did you overcome them? I think personally, I'm still overcoming them. It's still a battle and a challenge I can have, because when I think what's convenient, it's convenient to just like not try.
Yeah.
But to keep showing up and to keep trying, it's such a vulnerable state. When I'm giving a speech, it's like, oh, what if I say the wrong thing? I quote the wrong verse. I give the wrong story. I use the wrong line. I share too much. I don't think I share too little, but more so share too much. Then like there's so many things that could go wrong. So I think, how do you overcome it? It's something simple, but it's you behave as though you believed that it would go great. If I behaved as though I believed it, like, so what if I don't believe it? Okay, if you behave as though you believe, there's so many good things will come into your life if you could understand and practice that. Behave as though you believe. If you did believe you were going to make the team, how would you behave? Now you have to, again, go back to the prior point. You believe you're not good enough on your own, but you have to work to become good enough to make the team. But you have the raw ability given by God, and you hone that ability with hard work, with practice, with intense training to be able to get ready for that next level. So I think that would be maybe a meta answer, but it's trying in life is difficult. Do you want to respond to that, or do you want to go right into your own?
Yeah, no, I definitely want to respond. It's funny that you say that, because I've had the same kind of conversation with Jeremy. So like, Jeremy, I will ask him, like, well, have you tried this? Or have have you ever gone here? Have you ever done this? And he's like, no, I don't do any of that. And I had been getting concerned like a while back, and I started asking him, like, why don't you ever, try playing golf or try, something else? And he's like, well, I don't really like failing. So it's gotten, I've seen the process of being pushed. I feel like everybody has that fear. Everybody has that fear that they're not going to succeed, or that, whatever they're trying, they're not going to be good enough. And I think that it comes with a certain level of confidence that you have to continue to try to fail to eventually succeed. So I think, especially like myself, like I've never felt like if I try to do something, it was just not going to work out for me, especially if it's something that I was really like passionate about. And I think that comes a lot from, having confidence instilled in me, from my mom, from my, dad, from like my family members. It makes me feel better. And I think that's something that I've now done for Jeremy a lot more. Like I feel he was super unwilling to try so many things because of just not wanting to even come off like he wasn't doing something right. And it's like little by little, like having to be pushed and having to be, told, over and over again. It doesn't matter if you succeed. It doesn't matter if it works out. It matters that we are working through it together. We're trying to figure it out together, and that at the end of the day, I'm always going to be here, to pick you back up or to help you out or to brainstorm things with you. And I think it's definitely something that you need other people around also. When you're trying to do something, sometimes that fear does overshadow a lot of the decision making. So instead of you deciding that you actually want to even try, you decide not to. And I think that sometimes the people in your life help you move forward on that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's completely a real fear. And I think getting over it is something something you have to do, one, internally, and it helps when you have other people around you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And anybody who's paying attention, taking notes of these things, Aimee wasn't even the main hero of that story. She even allowed her mom and her dad and her family to be partly heroic in helping her to develop the confidence to try new things. And Jeremy wasn't the consummate villain in and of herself, because she also was on her own journey to be able to learn and grow in these things. So the narrator said, what did the narrator say as he oversaw that part of the story? and Aimee continues down her journey of humility and not being the only hero of her stories.
Yes.
No, that's good. I think that's great. And I think, again, as you think about what your son hears from you, is the idea of other people being able to help push you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something, it's something dangerous about being isolated and not having people who are actually in your life to challenge you and disagree. You want to read B-Rise? Let me put it on the screen.
The only reason I've never been able to be drunk is because I've never tried. Don't be me. Oh, to dunk. I was like, just drink some alcohol. The only reason I've never been able to dunk is because I've never tried. Yeah.
Be right. You got to tell us the story of. I don't know why I was. Oh, I know. I was thinking about you on Saturday. Be right. Just because I went to the shooting range and shooting guns, and I remember you had the story about a gun going off. I think it affected your hearing in one of your ears, I believe, when you were in the cab of your truck. I don't know if that's public, but I guess it is now. Anyway, I I said B. Rice. So if anybody, I guess people who are watching would be able to see his name. So anyway, public information now. Whoops. But anyway, that was humorous as I was messing around with the gun, and I got a gun gifted to me on Saturday,
Wow.
which is like a
weird gift. But I mean, we're in Texas.
Wait, weird? You think weird?
It's very much a Texas thing.
In the Sonic drive-through line. He's like, can I get a strawberry slushy?
Bang!
Dang, those things are loud too. Because when you're in the gun range, you at least have the
plugs,
the plugs, or the over the ear earmuffs or whatever they are.
Yeah.
So, no, what I was gonna say about the gun is that one, they're expensive. It's like $100-$300 of a gift, which is like, how many friends do you know like give $200-$300 gifts? A part of the hollow point is still in my dash, bro. You could have died, bro. Like, I can't believe that happened. But it's so easy to see when you're pulling apart, when you're taking the magazine out, or you're pressing the button, to move the gun forward. I forget what the phrase is. To cock the gun and to uncock the gun. I don't know the phrase. Either way, we're glad you're alive, bro. But back to the gun. Thought about him bringing it back. You having some humility. And did you hit your biggest fear? Or I guess did you tie your fear in? I know you were responding and using. Or was that just your response? Have you gotten your fear yet?
No, I haven't gotten to my fear yet.
Oh, sweet.
Biggest fear. One of my biggest fears is.
Oh, can you think about it? And I just add one more thing to the last thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think one of the things when it comes to trying that I just want to add real quick here is it's amazing how much people respect you as somebody who tries. Like, you don't even have to do good, but there's some amount, and maybe it's the other people who don't try. There's so many people who would have loved to try. They don't try. And when they look around at their peers or their friends or their family or whoever it is, and they see somebody out there who's trying, like, it's one simple way to stand out. If you actually just try, because it's probably just such a common fear, to actually try. All right, go ahead.
So one of my biggest fears. So yeah, like when you sit down and think about it, it's like there's a lot of things. One of my biggest fears is to, especially now, to have to go through life alone without my husband. And it's like, when you're growing up.
It sounds like. So are you gonna clarify what that means?
Yeah. Like growing up, everybody goes through the phase where you now conceptualize death, and you think like, oh my gosh, what if my parents die? What am I gonna do?
Right now, audience might think that your husband died, but keep going.
No, he's not. He's not dead. My husband is not dead. But one of my biggest fears is what if he dies?
Yeah.
Oh, what would I do? What would I do? But I feel like growing.
How far do you go down the lane, and the emotional lane, and the strategy, and what moves you'd make?
I would make if he died. That's what I'm saying. Like, the thought of it, like having to, especially like being a mom, being a parent, and then now having another baby on the way, like you think about the situations, like it's so much easier to deal with Kalel, to deal with being pregnant and having the baby, and just going through life every day when you have somebody next to you. I feel like, and even like having your family members, obviously, but like eventually just thinking about having to deal with those things alone is crazy. And like, yes, like you will, like I'll still have my family and I'll still have other things, going on, but it's crazy to think that like to have a key person in your life not be there.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my biggest fears. Yeah. Unfortunately.
How do you overcome it?
That, I think you just be grateful for every day that you have. I think that makes it a lot easier to, especially like sometimes mom, she's pressing my buttons, right? Like, I don't know if it's like maybe it's like a pregnancy thing, right? So like sometimes I go through phases where I'm like super agitated. So then sometimes when, somebody's saying something and like obviously I'm with mom all the time, right? So I like mom will say something and then I'm like super aggravated and then I think
Trigger.
and then I just have to like think to myself, I'm just so glad that she's alive though. She'll like I'm like, well, I'm glad she's alive to bother me, and stuff like that. Just even I guess, death. Death is probably a big thing to be scared of. Not even just like myself dying or what happens after we die or, all these things, but just losing the people that I love.
Yes.
Losing the people that I love is a big fear of mine.
Oof.
So then a lot of times, when I find myself getting aggravated or annoyed or anything like that, I try to just constantly tell myself, well, at least they're alive to annoy you. Those things help me get over that. And even like our brother, I don't know if he still is in that phase or has been in the past, but he went through that. I don't believe in an afterlife thing. So it's like, it was really hard at that point in time for him, to hear like, when we've had deaths like, oh, they're in a better place. Like, no, they're not. Like, for him, he believed, no, they're not in a better place. They're not anywhere. They don't exist anymore. They're gone. Bah, ya no hay. And I think, especially if like that's the kind of stuff that you believe, like it's even greater fear. I do definitely, I believe in heaven. I believe in hell. I think that something does happen after we die. But even then, having to go through your life without your loved ones is a scary thought. And I think the way that I get over that, the way that I don't let that be a giant crippling fear that makes me tell everybody to wear a life jacket in the pool, is I have to just constantly just enjoy the time that I have.
Yes.
Yeah, live in the moment and understand that sometimes when things annoy you, you just have to be grateful someone's alive.
Yeah. It's true. It also makes me want to, like, if I have nice thoughts to say about somebody, like, if I have a thought, have I said it to them? Let me go out of my way, whether I said it or not. But even, like, you having kids at a young age, I think it's such a great thing because I think about...
Young being 23, not, 15.
But isn't it like sometimes I have a thought that's so deep inside of me that I'm like, oh, interesting. Like, can I? Let me just even within myself challenge the idea of that thought. For example, like a child. Again, even what you just said, somebody having a kid at 15 or at 17, or again these younger ages. Then what's the problematic part of it? Is it me to be being able to? So if I take out variables, so it's like, oh no, how are they going to pay for stuff? Okay, then what if they have the money? Then does that variable go away? So that's not a non-factor. If you take out enough variables, you get a chance to figure out what you actually believe and think about it. Mm-hmm. Anyways, it's made me think about it over the years as far as what I think about pregnancy at different ages. I think before, I almost had it maybe when somebody would be pregnant, like in 8th grade or 9th grade. I remember that happened with one of my classmates. And it was like, oh no, that's terrible. But then I was like, is there any way that's a beautiful, powerful thing? Like where they had kids at such a young age where they get to have their kids and grow up with their kids. Is there any context where I look at that and go, there's something precious about it? And I think for me, there is pockets where I think there's something good about that. I've wondered about parents who go through it, parents who have their kids who are really young. Let's say a parent who has their children who are 15 or 16 have a kid, and like it's probably difficult initially for them, but then there's probably something like, oh, I get a grandkid. You know what I'm saying? Like this idea of it is if they're like family oriented and they're excited about having younger ones, like isn't that like that was one of the contexts. One of the contexts I thought of was their parents being able to be grandparents for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
As opposed to, let's say if I was mom's only kid and I was really gonna have a kid at 39 or whatever, like I'll be 39 next month, and she had no grandkids up until this point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like Dime having kids at her, her late teenage years, how that was a blessing for mom. Her having kids as she was older with you and Pops, like just how precious that is. So I've been thinking about that a little bit as well of like how you look at it. Oh, but I was saying that because I want to say something nice about you, because I was saying that you having your two kids, well, one that you've already had, of course, Kalel, and then there's your second on the way in December. I think it's cool because it's great because if you want to do schooling after or do career stuff after, or especially with society, there seems to be such a push for women to like not think about kids and not do that. But it almost seems rarer for people to have kids at a younger age. So when I see it, I always want to like commend it,
especially like on purpose.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I don't know if we've ever gotten to that conversation, or if anybody, especially like on the pod, I don't know if we've ever gotten to that conversation that mine and Jeremy's decision to have kids was because, Jeremy had gotten sick, and after he got sick, it was like probably not even a possibility. And then on top of that, like now life seems so much more precious. It seems like, at any point in time, you could be here, you could not be here. And it's like, what do you want to leave after that? What do you want for your family? Do you want to leave family behind? So it was like, after we made the decision to then like have our kids, it's something, and even, we have another baby on the way, and Jeremy's still going to school, so it's like, has our lives has slowed down. He wasn't able to finish as fast, but is he going to finish? Yeah, he's going to finish. He's doing good in his classes right now. Is my life still moving? Yes. Is his life still moving? Yes. Do we have family support? Especially that mom had me at an older age. I feel like now she's not 100% slowed down yet, but she can take more time out of work. If I need her to watch Kalel during, odd times of the day, like now, on a Tuesday at noon or on a Thursday at 9 in the morning, she can take time out and watch Kalel for those times, or even on the weekends,
Yeah.
So I think it's been super, like, one, definitely a blessing that I have, Jeremy, I have my parents, I have my siblings, I have even, my nieces, Christiana and Shanice. If it comes down to it, they help as well. So it's like, I'm super blessed for all of that, and just more reason to appreciate them, to appreciate my family members, to appreciate the people that I love, and for them, I also appreciate that they love my son.
Yes. Love that. Well done. Well said. I'll speak about the fear about losing somebody. I think that's tough. I think, having a kid, and then so many at this point in history have passed away giving birth. So like that is a reality of what happens, what could happen in delivery. And it's like to even think about like mentally, okay, so how would that be? Okay, single father, baby, feeding, waking up, changing, like all of these things you think about, like how do you position yourself and your son to be prepared, and then like, and all of the aftermath, Angelina and I talk openly about like, like perspectives on like remarriage and all of this stuff. Now, this is all like factors that are non-factors then that are non-factors now. As far as like, do you want your son to grow up with a mother in the home? Do you want him not to? Like, what do you want him to see as the norm? And all of that are possibilities as far as where I can go as I think about if she passed away, how would life be?
Yeah. And it's all these things are real possibilities. It's not like, what if aliens come down from, the sky? Like not like crazy out of their possibilities. It's like actual real things that happen to people that all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it scary too. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
But I do I am super happy with, the way that life's turning out. With my boys, with, you know, life
Mm.
continuing to go like and pursue a more career, more education. Yeah, that's always a possibility too.
Yeah.
But I'm happy now because I'm going to get to spend lots and lots of time with my boys.
Yes. Yes. All right. Question number 12. And it reads, can you tell me about a time when you had to make a difficult decision? Difficult decision.
Ooh. Let's see. Let's see.
I'm like going through all the categories. All right. Financial decision, romantic decision, breakups, decisions around church decisions, decisions for God, decisions which category would you like?
Ooh. Let's lean towards. It's hard to say. Maybe a career.
Career. That's where my first thought went. Yeah, I can share about that. So I worked at Nationwide. Well, before Nationwide, I was running around. Like, I had worked with this one guy who's doing some real estate stuff. So I was doing some real estate stuff, and ultimately, Aimee sinned again on the pod. How dare you?
I'm checking my jawline.
Anyway, I had this moving company, doing some landscaping, doing some dance lessons, doing some real estate stuff, all of these things, and then Angelita and I started dating. Ultimately, making the decision to apply at Nationwide, got a job as a call center rep, doing that. I ended up becoming a supervisor there, stayed there for 5 years, and then the company was going through like a downsize and like shifting direction, and like there was a number of leaders who were let go in the organization, me being one of them. And at the time, there was another leadership position as a similar role in another department that I initially applied for. But the way a layoff works is they offer you a certain amount of money to leave, and so like you could add up all of that money and go, all right, is it better for me to go somewhere else for a job or stay here? But you think about, okay, well, this is consistent money. I know how to do the job, or I could branch out and do my own thing. So the difficulty of it is like, one, there's uncertainty everywhere you go. It seemed to be a guarantee amount of money coming in if you stay at a company like Nationwide. If I did my own thing, there wouldn't be a guarantee of money. And so then having to pray through that. And I think, again, for my son who's listening and going, hey, how did you navigate losing the job there? One, it's a big blow to your ego, because in my own ego-centric perspective, like when I was leaving this job, there was going to be a party thrown in my honor, right? People would be talking about all the ways I positively affected them, and there would be this really wholesome, uplifting send-off into the next arena of my life. But there was really none of that.
Oh gosh.
So you just go, oh, every way I thought it was going to go, it didn't go. And there's a sense of shame and embarrassment about that. So to go through all of that, I am making the decision to start my own company, start a coaching business, and to write books. I guess I can see from this angle, write books, do the pod, build a studio, travel and speak, and all of that. Which some of it, again, it sounds really appealing when you add up all those things together, but there's great difficulty in it, because writing is an incredibly lonely thing to do, because you're by yourself at a computer for extended periods of time. putting your ideas together. Also, speech preparation is the same thing. Coaching, it's collaborative, so you're often with people. But all of that to say is, it was difficult because all of the ego stuff of having a not so glorious send off, and then all the uncertainty and fears and worries in the new job were also issues to navigate through as well. And like, could I do it? But the things that helped were having a spouse that was supportive and saying, look, like I believe you can do really well in this area. I know this is an area of your strengths. And she believed, God would bless that. So we're here now, and I certainly don't want to paint it like it was all glory all the time, because it absolutely wasn't. And even when I had some glorious moments in the business building arena, I think oftentimes I learned the wrong lessons from the victories. So, and that's actually a really important lesson in life, is you learn the right lessons. You could think, like, for example, I landed one giant contract, and I was like, oh, the lesson was I'm going to get a lot of these. Or I just got one of them, So if I just got one of them, then this wasn't a norm. This is actually an exception. But there was, if my son was trying to navigate how do you process a difficult decision, well, yeah, for sure, prayer, advice, counsel, support, and then a lot of conversation. I think a lot of counsel. But yeah, that's kind of how that was.
Yeah. Wow. That makes sense. Yeah, and even when you're making that decision, not knowing for certain how things are going to turn out.
Yeah.
That's definitely what makes decisions difficult. I think me and Jeremy, when you were talking about that, I was thinking that we're actually making difficult decisions right now, especially since we're young. So Jeremy he starts his last semesters, or last 2 semesters on Monday.
Yeah.
And he has to be in person for the majority of his classes, because they are classes for the major, so you can't take those online. And so we made the decision for me, Kalel, and and our future son to all move in with mom and my dad, so that Jeremy could go and focus on his classes over there in Austin. I think that's been a hard decision to think about, because we've been making that transition slowly over the last few months, so that it wouldn't be from one day to the next for our son. We had to get a room ready at mom's house. We had to get our furniture all put away somewhere that we had at our house. We had to find places for everything. We had to get Kalel used to everything. And, it was, we also wanted to save money from not having to pay rent, so that we could save that money to put towards the cost of living in Austin. And, whatever we're going to need for the time being, between now and 1, by the time we have the baby, and then 2, by the time he graduates. So I feel like we're making that decision right now, and it was a difficult decision to decide to not get to be with my husband every single day, and to let him focus on doing his own thing. And yeah, it's especially hard when I feel like, he could he make it work with all of us moving to Austin? And, he's struggling with the decision right now, and he's saying, y'all could just come with me. Y'all just move with us, move with me. It's, I don't really want to be away from you. So it's like he's making a difficult decision to turn and prioritize what he has to do and leave us behind. And I feel like I have to make the decision to know, like, sacrifice that having him with me so that he can, even, if he does really, really good, take all his extra classes, let's say in the winter, and finish even earlier. I want him to be 100% focused in doing what he needs to do. And I need to focus on, watching Kalal and focusing on my pregnancy. And it's hard to think that having to go through this on my own, even just for a little while. But I think about it as like a stepping forward, And I am grateful that my family is here because it's going to make things a lot easier. And especially staying with mom makes things easier. But like I said, she does press on my nerves sometimes. So it's a continuous being grateful that she's here. But yeah, I think we're currently making a very difficult decision, very unsure about what's going to happen at this point in time. Maybe in a year we'll give an update. But yeah, I think right now, in the moment of actually making the decision, it does get hard, and even just the other day, I got super overwhelmed because I was driving and Jeremy was in the passenger seat, right? And I was at the stop sign, and it was a 4-way stop, and there was a lot of traffic, and I stopped, and I got distracted because, like, I don't know what happened to my phone or whatever, and, like, it was on the radio, so I wasn't paying attention, and like, all the cars had gone, and it was my turn, and I just hadn't paid attention. So by the time I, like, realized it, I like, sped up, and Jeremy was like, what? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're not, you need to focus up. You're not paying attention. And even that, like, it overwhelmed me because even recently he's been in school already these last 4 weeks, and it's taken away from time that he's spent with me and Kalal, and that, like, overwhelmed me, him just even, like, getting upset at me. And I felt like, I feel like, I deserve a lot more grace on my little mess up while driving, because I feel like I've been dealing with a lot. I've been doing a lot. So even now, like, I'm starting to see that, it's going to be kind of hard.
Yeah.
Things are going to be kind of hard for a while, but I think we're moving through it. And even after that, like, we had to sit down and have a conversation, and, we both said, I'm sorry. And because I got upset, and I was like, I'm sorry that I was yelling. Like, I shouldn't have, like, gotten that mad, but, I was upset. And he's like, like, I'm sorry. Like, I really, really don't like the position that we're in right now also. But I think it's, especially when you have the decision that you're making is affecting your partner, your family, and everybody else, like, it's so hard to actively continue to make a decision that's right for you when at any point in time you can just quit and say, we're just going to move all together. We're just all going to stay together.
Yeah. So then are you resolute in the idea of all the words I'm thinking about using are all the wrong words, because separation means something different, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, I guess it's living apart.
Distancing?
Yeah, living apart.
Yeah.
So, like,
live a partner.
So is that resolute, hey, like, burn the boats? Hey, that's not an option. We're not doing live it. Like, did you carve out, hey, I'm 75% this. There's a 25% chance that we might just go to Austin and meet Kala, or like,
there's definitely, like, big chunks of me, especially at different points in time, especially, like, when I start getting aggravated or upset about something where I'm like, we're all just gonna go. But sometimes, then I turn around and I think, I'm gonna keep myself busy. I'm helping out at the restaurant now, and that's keeping me busy. And, I got somebody to watch Kalal for time while I'm helping run the business and stuff like that. So I think that's all gonna help.
Yeah.
Gonna help distract me, gonna help time go by faster, because I'm working to train people, working to get stuff figured out before I have the baby. And I think all of that's gonna be the best way to go about things for right now.
Got it.
But definitely, Yeah, I definitely still think that we are gonna go sometimes, and Jeremy's all for us just going with him,
Hmm.
but I don't think that's the best decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got you. All right. Question number 12. Actually, I want to throw you a curveball. This is a curveball. Is the conversation here? Who knows? But two things. One is Chat GPT. I asked it for some slang words because if this is a true time capsule, there's going to be slang that's being used right now that Khalil and other son may not know the references. So he'll know some of the references that were popping when we created this time capsule of our
Yeah.
podcast together. So let me pull those up. And what generation are you considered? Do you know?
Why? No, wait, no, Y's mom, right?
What is
Z?
what does Z have the cutoff? Is it 2000?
I don't know.
Anybody listening know the generational cutoffs? We
Let
could
me
probably
look it
just
up.
ask, but it's okay. All right,
I'll look it up really quick.
no, it's okay. You don't have to. You could just. You're actually the one focus. You're the one person who shouldn't look it up is the one is on the pod. But here
Hmm.
is your 20 phrases, and let's see. The test is, can you define what the word means?
Okay,
all right.
let's see. Go.
All right, number 1, Riz.
I think that one is confidence. Confidence or swagger.
Confidence swagger for what?
Oh, with your is it dating? Like a dating thing? Like your confidence and swagger in being like a player.
There you go. You're in line. It's again. This is all ChatGPT's breakdown. It's short for charisma, specifically referring to someone's ability to charm or attract others, often romantically. Example: he's got mad riz with the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, bussin'.
Something's good. Like it tastes really good.
Yep, pretty much right in line.
Yep.
Number 3, no cap.
100% true.
100% true, not exaggerating.
Not exaggerating.
Number 4, bet.
Ooh. It's like for sure, yeah.
Yep, similar to saying okay or I agree. Number 5, sus.
Suspicious.
Yes. Used to describe something that is extreme. Wait, whoops.
Suspicious.
Used when someone is trying or something seems shady or untrustworthy.
Yeah.
Number 6, slaps.
Really good. Similar to bussin'.
Yep. You got that one right. Number 7, drip.
Clothing that's really nice.
Yep.
Or jewelry or
Yeah. Outfit.
yeah.
8, vibe check.
Oh, like if you have a good demeanor, attitude, and you fit in with the general demeanor and attitude of a group.
Number 9, yeet.
Just kidding.
Yeet? As just kidding?
Yeah, like
I'm not saying ChatGPT has all of the answers, but
yeah.
just kidding.
Yep.
Yeet, as defined by ChatGPT, is used as an exclamation of excitement or to describe throwing something with force. He yeeted the ball across the field. 10, touch
Yeah.
grass.
Like calm down. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that works. It said a phrase used to tell someone to go outside and experience real life instead of being too absorbed in online or virtual worlds.
That makes sense.
All right, number 11, on God.
Like super true, honestly.
Number 12, mid.
It means okay. Means like not great, but doesn't suck.
Mm-hmm.
Average.
Number 13, ratio.
I don't know that one. Let's see. Taking a guess.
It's typically
Like well-rounded? No,
No.
I don't know.
ratio commonly used on social media to indicate when a post gets more negative responses than likes. Being
Oh.
ratioed is typically seen as a sign of public disapproval.
Yeah.
It's more of like a Twitter world.
Yeah, I think Jeremy had explained it to me one time. Because once you said it, then I kind of jogged my memory.
All right, we'll skip 14. We'll go to 15. Is simp.
Somebody who overdoes it with the being nice in relationships.
That's pretty
The good guy.
Yes.
Nice guy.
Refers to someone who is overly submissive or eager to please someone they are romantically interested in, often at the expense of their own dignity. Example, stop simping for her, man. She's not into you. 16, glow up.
You were ugly and now you're not.
That was so succinct. She had example. She had a major glow up over the summer. 7, salty.
I guess I don't know. I would use the word salty to describe that. Like someone who is annoyed, or like, yeah, like distasteful about the situation.
Yep. 8, W.
A win. Score.
9, lit.
Intoxicated or on illicit substances.
Yep. An alternative definition. Any others? If an event was lit or is.
Live. Super poppin'.
Yeah.
Excited.
Exciting, fun, or awesome.
Exciting.
And 10, sheesh. Sheesh.
Yeah. Like, oh man.
Oh man. An exclamation used to
Damn.
express amazement, excitement, or disbelief, often in response to something impressive or surprising. All right. Those are 20 slang words for your curveball. Where we at? Last question of today's pod, which is,
What are some traditions or customs that were important in our family? Thoughts, Derek?
going out for our Christmas tree and chopping it down by hand.
You do that?
No, but maybe one day.
Diamond does that, I think, with her family. Maybe one day we'll all go together. I don't really know. We're not like a real traditional type of
What about your egg?
my Easter egg hunt.
That too, but I was thinking about the Mexican egg.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah. The
Witchcraft.
rubbing the egg on you when you think that you have a hole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a tradition, I guess.
For my son, who's listening to this, is gonna have no idea what his aunt is talking about. Some people in our culture call it witchcraft in our faith tradition, and we have banned this from our household. So, as far as I have control, an egg will not be rubbed on you, son.
Okay.
All right. Where we at? Oh, traditions.
I can't really think of like holiday traditions is where my mind automatically goes.
Do y'all do something for Christmas?
Something specific? No. Like,
Do y'all do gifts?
no.
You don't think you'll ever do gifts? Dang, you have that Jehovah Witness rub off on you, huh?
Yeah, it was no, we don't. Not really. It's more like I'm not sure. Maybe like we don't really do gifts. It wasn't like that was a thing. We don't really do like caroling or anything like that. I like Halloween.
Hmm.
I like dressing up for Halloween.
What was Khalil's first?
He was Dr. Octopus.
Okay. Does he have a plan for this year?
Yeah, I think we're doing Jurassic Park. So that we don't have to carry him. We can put him in a wagon, dress him up like not a dragon, a dinosaur.
A dragon in a wagon.
A dinosaur.
Dinosaur.
But yeah.
So you'll be a dinosaur too?
No, me and Jeremy will be park rangers.
Oh.
And he will be not a dragon, a dinosaur. It's because I'm thinking wagon, dragon wagon.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, a dinosaur.
Then would you have boundaries on the types of costumes? Can he be as scary as he wants to be? Because some people in the Christian faith, they feel weird about like scary costumes. Like even like different churches would do like their what do they call it? Festival, harvest festival. So that's their version of Halloween. They not call it Halloween, but then they say no scary costumes. But of course, kids that are not really deep in the church or whatever, or they just want to be rebellious, will have the scary costumes. But do you have any kind of thoughts on scary costumes?
Oh no, I let him do whatever he wants. On top of that, I like to get real creative and stuff. So I'm down for all the fake guts and fake lashes and fake blood and.
What about horror movies?
Ooh, I don't really like horror movies. I mean, if he's some kind of weirdo who likes horror movies, like.
Hey, you just call it all the horror movie fans.
I'm saying it because I know you used to like horror films.
But weird is what the Democrats are calling the Republicans right now. You really want to use that politically charged phrase in our podcast?
Why are they calling them weird?
I guess I think it's cool.
Okay. So that's what the Democrats are calling the Republicans right now?
Well, they were, but I think they said Kamala's going to stop doing that.
But why would... Oh, I guess I haven't really been keeping up. There's not any debates recently.
Correct. But the DNC is happening right now.
DNC?
Democratic National Convention, when all the Democrats get together.
Oh.
Supposedly there's a mobile baby deleting station that they took to there to show how they are pro-choice.
Baby deleting?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's the word people use.
That's what they use.
They say
yeah.
to not get shadow banned.
Yeah.
Of our.
I had heard a good term for it the other day.
Yeeted.
I have seen that term used actually. Yeeted. Oh, it was a good. It was like because I listen to those Reddits all the time, so they had used a word that was like similar. Yeah. Can't remember. I'll find it eventually.
Do you know who you're voting for yet?
No, I mean there's been no debate.
Yeah, I know, but your side was whatever my algorithm feeds me and persuades me by.
Honestly, my algorithm has been slacking.
What has it been lately?
Nothing but Reddits.
You taught it that. All right. You don't know who you're voting for. I don't know if I'm going to vote.
Yeah, it's kind of up in the air right now. But my mom was saying that.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
That she thinks Kamala's going to win.
But the mobile baby deleting station did make me want to go vote for on the Republican side. But
just like I don't understand. I mean, taking it to the DNC, that's weird.
Yeah. Any other customs? Any other traditions?
Not as far as I can think. traditions, we all make something for Thanksgiving now. We didn't used to, but we do now. Something
What are you
different.
gonna make this year?
Probably the same thing I make every year. Cream
it-
corn, cranberry sauce. Somebody else can make regular corn.
Oh, Mafia is a tradition.
Oh, yeah.
Explain Mafia to your son.
Mafia is a game we play where everybody gets a card and there's assassins among you. And depending on what card you get, you might be an assassin. And you go through a role play where you try to figure out who the assassins are. And you kill people off. And you could potentially kill off innocent family members, which we do often. And it's really fun, actually. We get all kinds of crazy ways that people are strung up and killed.
I played Mafia in prison.
With the prisoners?
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
We had to make it like Christian because it was a Christian group. So yeah,
Did people still die?
I think they left the faith or something like that. All right. So next week we got how did you approach achieving your goals and ambitions? 15 is what role did friends play in your life and how did you maintain those relationships? And that's when we shout out Aimee for what was step number 9 in AA? Make amends.
Make amends.
This is where the Holy Spirit has worked through ChatGPT to give us these questions to remind Aimee to make amends to her friends. Oh, that rhymed. Number 16, what books, music, or movies had the greatest impact on you? Number 17, what was your relationship like with your parents and siblings? Anything else to wrap up this episode, Aimee? Any other stories or current events? Any questions about me? Any questions that I have for you about current events and what's happening?
Yes. So if your child comes at any day now and then we have a pod the following Tuesday, unless obviously your child comes on a Tuesday at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, which could be a possibility. You never know. But the following Tuesday, are you going to bring child on the camera and do like this? Like the Lion King? Are you going to...
On a live video? What if he throws up?
That's even funnier.
This is true. I don't know.
You could put a lion emoji mask like this.
Your
The
position
baby lion
on Khalil popping on socials, you have him on there?
Yeah.
Posts
on
as well
mine.
as stories or just stories?
Post as well as stories. He's on mine.
Again, so have you stayed strong with keeping him off of phones or is he on phones now?
No, he doesn't get on there. I mean, he grabs the phone and he puts it up to his ear and he goes, "Hello?" Or he goes, "Huh?" Huh? He goes like that. And I tell him. He learned how to say dog. He's learning. He knows ball, dog,
Nice.
mom, dad, grandma, grandpa. But yeah, so yeah. If he's been like, okay, like recently we had to take him to go get his blood drawn, and after that we did let him watch TV for a little bit longer than we normally do.
On the TV or on the phone?
On the TV.
What did he watch?
He likes Miss Rachel.
Oh, okay.
So when it comes time to reward him, we allow him to watch Miss Rachel. Yeah.
Rewards.
Yep.
That makes sense.
But yes.
Oh, we got our maternity pictures back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Woohoo!
So maybe I'll start posting them.
Yes. Did you get them all 167 or whatever it was?
101.
Oh, 101.
But it was like 68 if you took out the black and white. But then it was like, when you did the math on the 60, it pretty much was cheaper just to buy the whole bundle and to get a free book.
Oh.
Did you end up doing yours? So when are yours?
No, I need to do mine very soon because I told Jeremy. But Jeremy said he wants a month to be at school so that he can, because his apartment, he's going to have to walk to school every day. So he said I have to give him a month to lose weight before we go and take pictures.
How much weight do you think he wants to lose to get a picture ready?
25 pounds.
Okay. So he thinks he's gonna lose quite a bit in the time period.
I think he's been real like fluctuating recently between like 210 and 190. Like within the last 2 or 3 months, he's gone down to 190, gone up to 210, and been all in the middle there. So I think he really wants to get down to like 185.
Yeah.
So I think if he gets down to 185, he'll be happy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode. We made it to the 90-minute mark, and we'll be hopping on next week if my baby doesn't come and interrupt our flow, and then we'll go from there.
Yepperoni.
Any last words, Aimee?
Nope.
All right, everybody. Goodbye, and we'll see you on the next one.